Hi friends, we're looking into an important topic especially for GS3, and even you may get a question in GS1 also with respect to heat waves and its impact. And if you just observe what happened in the last 2 to 3 months, India has faced a severe heat wave crisis almost in all states. See, this heat wave, I will come to that what is that heat wave, but this heat wave is not a new phenomenon to India or not a new phenomenon to the world, but this time especially in India and Pakistan. What happened is, this heat wave started early, in the month of March itself it started, and because of that it has impacted the country severely. I will come to that impacts, but the importance of this heat wave especially in this year is because of this early onset of heat waves. Earlier it was in the month of May normally, but there is a scope like it can start in between March to July, but normally it was in the month of May, but this time it was started in the month of March itself. That is why it is important, and that too they have prevailed for a longer time. Earlier it was not for a longer time, for a shorter duration, maybe for 1 week, 10 days, this is the time normally, but this time they have prevailed in India for a longer time. That has severely impacted. That is the reason why this topic is important. Okay. So, what is this heat wave? See, heat waves are generally a result of this tapped air. That means, suppose if this is an area, and in this area if the heat air, the warm air, I can call it as the warm air, if it is tapped, that means something is not allowing this warm air to move out. That means the entire warm air is completely tapped, and because of this warm air, this entire this territory is getting heat, and this entire heat is tapped. And because of this tapping of entire heat or this warm air, will face this heat wave condition. And this heat wave occurs because of this tapping. And who taps this? Someone taps. What is who taps? It is the high pressure that tap. High pressure. So if there is a high pressure area build up, this high pressure area will try to push the air towards the territory or towards the land side, and it don't allow this air to, or this heat to escape out of this place. And because of that, these people face this heat wave condition. There is no much air circulation and there is no cool air. So this is exactly the condition of heat wave. Okay. So they occur when a system of high atmospheric pressure moves into an area. In any area in this upper strata, when a high atmospheric pressure develops, then that leads to heat wave condition. It is not just only this pressure, and this pressure is because of temperature, because the temperature difference always results in pressure. And that is the reason why if the temperature is high, that leads to the high pressure, and that high pressure again leads to increase in the heat of a particular area, and that leads to heat waves. That is what exactly heat wave. Okay. So the heat wave forms when a high pressure strengthen and remain in a region over a certain period. If it is there for a certain period, then that will never allow this to escape, and that acts like a pressure, and it try to pressurize this air, and so that this heat won't escape anywhere. That creates lot of problem. So this is heat wave. This is anyhow this sinking, that means the air that is coming towards the earth, that sinking air acts like a cap and it taps the warm gas that is there here. Now See, what are the favorable conditions? What are the favorable conditions to get these heat waves or to generate these heat waves? I will give some favorable conditions. Later I will come to the specific aspect of India, what exactly happened in India in this year. Okay, the favorable conditions. Favorable conditions. So, favorable conditions. So, what are the favorable conditions? One is transportation or prevalence of hot dry air over a region. So, hot dry air, if it passes through a region, then it develops that pressure belt and that creates these heat waves. So, that is the first one. Transportation or prevalence of hot dry air over a region. Second one, absence of moisture in the upper atmosphere. Absence of moisture in the upper atmospheric layer. If there is a moisture, that leads to the clouds, and clouds will again form into precipitation and that will cool that. But if there is no moisture, then there is no scope for any clouds and all. So, absence of moisture in the upper atmosphere. The sky should be clear and cloudless. The sky should be clear and cloudless. Okay, this is another. The another important favorable condition is the large amplitude of anticyclone flow over a region. Anticyclone means high pressure region. The high amplitude of anticyclone flow over the area. Okay, these are the 4 different favorable conditions for getting this or for experiencing this heat waves. Okay, just have an idea. You may get a preliminary bit also. Okay, you may get a preliminary bit. Next, when it comes to India, normally in India, this heat waves starts from this northwestern part of India. From the northwestern part of India, it moves in the eastern direction and southern direction, and it spread across the country. Because this is an area which is dry and an area is having high temperature and that too low moisture or precipitation. So, this area is more suitable. So, because of that, it starts normally here and it spread across the country. That doesn't mean that it don't start anywhere in the country, but this is a very general trend. And it can happen in anywhere also if favorable conditions are existed. Now, what is the so specific for this year? Why it happened so early? Normally, this process happened in the month of May. But suddenly it happened in the month of March itself. The reason is this. The reason is less amount of precipitation or less amount of rainfall in the northwestern region in the month of March and April. So, normally in the month of March, you will get the rainfall in the northwestern India. Now, you did not get that rainfall, and along with that, there is another reason called it is related to the temperatures of the Pacific. So, the Pacific Ocean temperatures are cooler than normal year. So, because of this, it has influenced or it has impacted the rainfall of this northwestern part of India, especially in the month of this March. And another important, these two are leading to the first point. The second one is with respect to the western disturbances. You will study about these western disturbances in your geography. Western disturbances. Normally, these western disturbances bring some moisture and they will bring some sort of precipitation to the northwestern part of India and some areas of Delhi and the surrounding areas of Delhi. But this year it is ineffective and it has lacked sufficient amount of moisture. So normally which brings a rainfall and cloudy skies, they have not brought, and this western disturbances occurs because of the temperature gradient between the northern part of the entire globe and the temperature of the West Asian region. So based on the gradient, that means the difference of temperature between these two regions, the northern part of the globe and the West Asian, that is the Gulf region. So from the West Asian part, so based on this temperature gradient, these western disturbances enter into India. When they are entering into India, they will bring some moisture, but anyhow this has weakened gradient, because of that there is no much rain. So because of this Pacific Ocean temperatures and western disturbances, there is a less rainfall, and because of that less rainfall, there is less amount of moisture, and because of that less amount of moisture and more amount of dryness, and the temperatures are, and another important is the temperatures increased, and this increased temperature, less in moisture has now combined, and that has created a condition of heat waves, So these are the things that you must understand. So western disturbance, lack of rainfall, and the Pacific Ocean temperature. And why this increase in temperature? Increase in temperature is happening across the globe because of global warming. So global warming is one reason, and the abnormality that happened in this year is another reason, that happened both in Pacific Ocean and as well as the western disturbances. So because of these reasons, it happened, the heat wave condition prevailed in the early summer. Normally it happened, there is a scope to get from March to June, and sometimes if monsoon delayed, it can extend up to July, but normally it happened in May, but now it happened only in the month of March. The reasons are this. Okay, these are the scientific reasons that you must understand. Okay. Now, I will come to that, how you will define this heat wave. Normally, IMD, Indian Meteorological Department, they will mention about this, but there are some parameters on which you can say that there is a prevailing heat wave condition and severe heat wave conditions. So a heat wave is a period of abnormally high temperature, more than the normal maximum temperature. So based on the temperature, we will decide these things. See, first of all, if the temperature is up to 40 degrees centigrade, you no need to classify it as the heat wave. If the temperature is up to 40 degrees centigrade in the plain area, and if it is 30 degrees centigrade in hilly area, you no need to classify it as the heat wave. The heat wave classification starts only the temperatures crosses 30 degrees in hilly area, 40 degrees in plain area. Now, in some areas, because of local factor, local factors, the normal temperature is less than or equal to 40 degrees centigrade. Normal temperature is less than or equal to 40 degrees centigrade, but a departure from normality is 5 to 6 degrees centigrade. But if an area's temperature normally 40 and less than 40, if the departure from normal is 5 to 6 degrees, then normally it may varies from 5 to 6 of this 40, but in that area, if the departure from normal, if it crosses greater than 7 degrees centigrade, then you must classify it as heat wave condition, or you must consider it as heat wave condition greater than or equal to 7 degree centigrade. That means deviation from this normal one. Next, in some areas, the temperature is normally greater than or equal to 40 degrees centigrade, because some areas normally they are having high temperature. In that, the normal departure is 4 to 5 degrees centigrade, but if suddenly that departure, suppose if suddenly that variation crosses more than 6 degrees centigrade, then you should consider it as a heat wave condition. and normally the temperature of any area, if it exceeds 45 degree centigrade, 45 degrees or more, 45 degrees or more, 45 degrees or more, then you can consider that condition as irrespective of the normal temperature. If it crosses 45, then you can obviously call it as heat wave. If it crosses 47 degrees centigrade, you can call it as a severe heat wave. Severe heat wave irrespective of their normal temperature ranges and their deviations, this is in specific case, and if it is less than this, you cannot consider it as. Okay. So this is how we classify, and this is a pre-monsoon tendency, Now, and another important thing is why it happened only in pre-monsoon. It happened only in pre-monsoon because of this entire monsoon system that India is having, because in this month the land will heat at an earlier rate and it cools at an earlier rate, but the water cannot happen such an early stage. That is why there is a huge pressure gradient that develops, and that pressure gradient is only possible in the summer months because sun rays are directly fall on this mainland area. Okay, this you can understand. The one who have an idea about this monsoon, they can easily understand, because only in that pre-monsoon, that too in the month of March, April, May, these are the summer months, and where the sunlight directly falls on this land. Because of that, there is a pressure gradient, and because of that pressure gradient, this heat wave conditions occurs, and because of that thing only, monsoon could enter into India. So that is, it's happening in pre-monsoon season. Okay. Now, what are the impacts? Of this heat wave? Because impacts are very, very important in various aspects. Environment impact, health impact, economic impact. So I can classify it into environment impact, health impact and economic impact. When it comes to the environment impact, impact on environment, see, the ecosystem will get disturbed. So if there is a heat wave, there is a problem for some of the species living in some bushy areas, or there is some problem to the species that are living in the desert areas, or even some of the species who are the species who are living in water. So they are also, that means the species that are living in the water also, they are facing some problem because of their rising temperatures. So the ecosystem will get disturbed. That is one aspect. Second one is, there is a lot of chance for these forest fires. That pollutes the environment. And there is lot of problem to some of the animals in forest and some birds, because of this water crisis and all. So some animals, birds, ecosystem overall and forest fires, these are some of the aspects that affects the environment because of heat wave. Next, when it comes to the health aspect, yes, so you all know what will happen during this heat wave, like fever, headache, nausea, tiredness, irritants, even blood pressure levels change. So these are all the aspects that you will get, these are all the health impacts that you will get during this heat wave condition. And anyhow, you have to take some precautions from the doctor that you have to follow it. And the economic impact. the impact, because the impact on health and environment, they both will cause an impact on economy. And this time, because of this earlier onset of heat waves, the economy is also impacted severely. These two aspects every year they are there, because their duration is less. That is why we haven't faced any such a serious problem. But this year it has also impacted the economy. It has impacted the agriculture. Especially it affected the wheat. It's not only wheat, mango and all other crops it got affected. Because of that rainfall, because the rainfall actually brings or neutralize the climate in the northern India, that will end up in giving high yield of wheat. But because of that lack of that temperature and lack of that rainfall and increase in temperature, the wheat production has come down, and because of that we have once allowed the export and later we decided not to export, and there is a huge inflation in wheat also. Okay, there is a shortage and price increase, that is all happening. So that is agricultural aspect. I am giving an example of wheat, but it has impacted all the other crops also. But there was no scientific assessment like which crop has damaged to what extent. So it happened in agriculture. It happened in animal husbandry, because their productivity, husbandry, like their milk, meat and all, they got affected, because some of the animals and cattle, even they could not, and in animal husbandry some of the cattle even they could not withstand that heat, that changing conditions. Even poultry sector face lot of problem. Economy point of view, not environment and ecological point of view. Poultry sector has faced lot of problem. Okay, so this is in that sector. Next, it has led to, that is in agriculture I said, this led to huge power demand, that led to shortage of power cuts, and that again impacted economic activity. Okay, that is another important aspect, that agriculture and agricultural allied sectors is first. Agri and allied is first one. The huge power demand, because of there is a shortage in power, and economic activity stalled down because of power cuts. Okay, now reduction in working days and working hours. Reduction in working days and working hours, and apart from reduction in productivity of the workers. People cannot extend beyond certain hours because of this heat wave. So they come in the early morning and they'll complete the work by 12. So working hours, and even some of the days they don't go. Working days, and even the productivity. Even if they are working, the productivity is less. Because in India, majority of the people work in an open field. Not everyone have a luxury to sit in the AC room and to do the work. Only few people have that luxury. So this productivity, working days and working hours are affected. And it obviously affects the production and also the economic activity. Next, because of this huge power demand, the energy supplies also got disturbed. This coal and all energy supplies also got disturbed. Next, there are some of the sectors like street vendors, people working in brick sector, and the people who are working in mining aspect, they are also got affected. Next, the fire accidents, not only the forest fires, the fire accidents are also increased, because fire catches easily. If favorable conditions exist under heat wave condition, the fire catches easily. Okay, and it is also impact on the education, because closing of schools, that has created some problem. Okay, and the another important thing is, there is a gender angle also. When there is such a huge unfavorable condition, And obviously if at all someone has to quit the job, it is the women, because they may not sustain such a high volatile atmospheric conditions. Okay, so it is a woman who lost the job, lost in the sense they don't want to, because it affects them very severely, it affects them very severely. So environmental impacts, health impacts and the economic impact. The health impact, obviously it impacts the economy also. Anyway, environmental impact we don't directly consider it into economic impact, but these are the different aspects, these are the different aspects. Okay, now already this year, that means in the year 2022, the IPCC in its 6th assessment report, they have already mentioned like these heat waves and humid stress, heat waves and humid stress will be more intense and frequent in South Asia this century, in this century. This will be more frequent, heat waves and humid stress, and that too these heat waves year to year they are becoming more frequent, they are becoming more intense, they are becoming more frequent and they are becoming more intense. That is one important aspect, you must keep it in your mind. Now what we need to do, what we need to do, anything that we can do in order to prevent it. See, the prevention is only one thing, one is prevention, second one is preparedness. Prevention, second one is preparedness, and we all know how we can prevent these abnormalities. Some of the things are not in our hand, but the scientific community is strongly believing, scientific community is strongly believing that the reason for all this entire aspect is climate change or global warming. Till now we consider like India, because of climate change it is a water crisis and drinking water crisis, rising of sea level that will impact the people in coastal area. So these are the things, but you must also now consider heat wave is also one of the important implication of this climate change and global warming. And what are all the efforts that we must reduce this climate change we must put, when it comes to the emissions, when it comes to go for a renewable energy sources, when it go for increasing the tree cover, and especially in the urban area. In the urban area, if you make that entire area as a concrete jungle with a lot of buildings, there is an there is a lot of scope for increasing the temperature abruptly. But if you allow some space for green cover, if you design your city, if your homes in such a manner, at least these trees can cool down the temperature, and so that we can avoid these abnormalities to some extent, to some extent. So anyway, overall that effects related to climate change, whether it is emissions, green cover, or promoting renewables, or promoting our development and the urban development, designing of the cities, so those should be comes under preventive measures. But most of the times, yes, that is a long term. Even if you do it now, you don't know exactly how it is going to impact and how much time will it take. Preparedness, preparedness is very, very important, because a lot of preparedness is required. First of all, you must have some awareness about these things, awareness. See, already this IMD is forecasting and it is releasing the data, and in advance they are giving, and some schools they have issued, they have announced the holidays. Schools are good at taking an appropriate decision, and even we are predicting to some extent, we are giving early warning and we are predicting, so that we are doing at school level, we are taking some decisions. But when it comes to the general public, the awareness is not there. So a better awareness is very, very important. Awareness in the sense, if suddenly it happened, what type of this first aid we must take care. So what type of first aid you must apply, so that health aspects also they must know, and what are the precautions they must take during this heat wave condition, they must know. That means these are health related aspects, health related aspects. Second one, our health infrastructure. Health infrastructure should also improve in order to suit this condition, because this is a condition lasting for maybe 1 or 2 months in a year. So during that time our health infrastructure must improve, and apart from that some water facilities, okay, those are all things necessary. The government should also consider it as a disaster, and they must prepare some action plan. And the disaster management agencies and disaster response force must also equip it to meet with these abnormalities or to meet with these conditions. Okay. Next, social security to the people is important, because when the people are losing their life in different disasters, the government is taking care, but this should also consider as a disaster, that social security must be there. And when it comes to the working conditions are very, very important. I told lot of people don't have a luxury to sit in AC rooms to do the work. So these working conditions, okay, so the working environment or working condition, social security, awareness, health infrastructure and action plan, and better prepared plan under these disaster management agencies, and climate change, global warming, these are the different aspects. And when it comes to the agriculture, in animal husbandry, in wildlife, appropriate research and appropriate precautions must be taken to make sure that these sectors sustain those heat wave conditions. Either it is measures, or it may be research, or it may be any other interventions that are required. Okay, so better agricultural research, wildlife, animal husbandry, and even when it comes to this ocean, because if oceans are getting heated, or if any inland waters are also getting heated, if they have impact on that, so this impact study must be done. And another important thing is how this heat wave is going to impact the onset of monsoon. Till now there was no such impact, but you must study it carefully, because this monsoon is very, very important for India. Okay, so the impact of this heat wave on monsoon. And apart from all these things, when it comes to the administration side, both at the union and state level, anyhow this home ministry, health ministry, they are the responsible with these disasters and this health aspects, so anyway they are ready. But other ministries should also be very careful, because we learned this lesson in this year. So what are the lessons? Like power ministry, the coal ministry, petroleum ministry, because diesel is important, petroleum ministry, and even transport ministry, railway ministry, because during this heat wave conditions the railway are completely filled, completely packed with passengers, that to the AC bogies and all. That is why railway ministry, transport ministry, power ministry, coal ministry, petroleum ministry, environment ministry, health ministry, even defense ministry, because border security is important, and the people who are facing the problem in some border areas, especially this northwestern border with Pakistan, okay, defense ministry, and rural development ministry, because drinking water will become an important problem. So that is why this rural development ministry. So these all ministries must be very careful, and they must start a comprehensive, a cohesive plan, so that they can reduce the impact of this heat wave on various aspects of the economy or the country. Okay, so these are the coordinated effort must be required at different levels, and there need to be some sort of research on this, and implication on monsoon and implication on the other aspects of the environment. Okay, so this must be done. So this is something about heat waves. So in this video you understood what is heat wave, What are the favorable conditions for heat wave? What is so special about the heat wave of India this year? What are the reasons for the onset of early heat waves this year? And how the IMD defines these heat waves? And what are the implications on various sectors? And what is the way forward? What is the way forward? Okay, this is something about heat wave. Definitely there is a chance that you may get a question, with respect to heat waves either under geography or under GS3. That means either GS1 or GS3. Okay, thank you.
Amrita IAS Academy.